It's fun, isn't it, to sit round a bonfire and share food together. Maybe that's something that you and your family have had the chance to do in the last few weeks. Jesus did that once with his disciples. They were sat on the beach eating breakfast together. Do you remember how Peter and John and some of Jesus's friends, the disciples, had been out fishing and they hadn't caught anything? At least they didn't catch anything until they listened to Jesus's command to put their net into the right side of the water, on the right side of the boat, and then they caught an abundance of fish. Well, as they came to the shore that morning, Jesus was there on the beach and he'd prepared a little bonfire and he was cooking some fish and some bread for them to eat together for their breakfast. So as they sat round the bonfire, I bet they were having a really great time, enjoying each other's company and chatting to one another, delighting in the fact that Jesus was there with them after he had come back to life, after he'd died. Now, as they finished eating, Jesus turned to Peter and said to Peter, "Do you love me?" And Peter said, "Yes, Lord, you know I love you." And a second time, Jesus said to Peter, "Do you love me?" And Peter said, "Yes, Lord, you know I love you." Well, when Jesus asked the third time, "Peter, do you love me?" Peter was a bit hurt. He said, "Lord, you know all things. You know that I love you." You might be wondering why Jesus asked Peter those questions, and maybe Peter was to begin with, but I think by the time Jesus asked for the third time, he realised. He remembered something that had happened before Jesus had died. You see, on the night that Jesus had shared the Last Supper with the disciples, Peter had promised to love Jesus faithfully forever, to do whatever he needed. But Jesus knew that Peter wasn't going to be able to keep that promise. And only a short time later, when Jesus was arrested and taken to the high priest's temple, Peter followed, but hanging back a little. He was scared. And he stood in the courtyard just outside the temple, around a bonfire, trying to keep warm. And 3 times people asked Peter, "Do you know Jesus?" And 3 times Peter had said, "No, I don't." Peter had lied about knowing Jesus. And now here were Peter and Jesus around a bonfire again, and Jesus is reminding Peter of how he let Jesus down, how he lied, how he pretended not to have known Jesus. It's as if with each time Jesus says to Peter, "Do you love me?" he's reminding Peter how badly he has hurt Jesus. But each time he's giving Peter an opportunity to put it right by saying, "Yes, Lord, you know I love you." You see, Jesus wants to forgive Peter, but he wants to know that Peter really truly means this. I wonder whether you think there's a limit to the number of times that Jesus should forgive us. Peter once asked Jesus whether there was a limit to the number of times he should forgive his friends when they hurt him. Peter thought if he forgave them about 7 times, that would probably be enough, really. But after 7, well, maybe they weren't worth forgiving. But Jesus said, "No, Peter, you should forgive them 7 times 70. Well, for those of you who are quick at maths, 7 times 70 is 490. Jesus wants Peter to forgive his friends 490 times. I don't think he means that literally. So when your brother or sister have annoyed you 489 times, you don't go to them and say, "Well, you've only got 1 more chance to be forgiven, and after that, that's it." Jesus is saying we should forgive other people an unlimited number of times, because that's how many times we're going to need to be forgiven by Jesus for the things that we do that hurt him and let him down. So my challenge for you this week, the things I want you to think about as you remember the story of Peter and Jesus sat on the beach around the bonfire, is how many times are you going to forgive the people that annoy you and hurt you this week? Are you going to forgive them an unlimited number of times? And how many times are you going to say sorry to Jesus for the times that we hurt him and let him down again and again and again? And finally, how are you going to show Jesus that you actually love him, rather than just saying it and then not actually doing it, like Peter did when he denied Jesus? So, are you going to forgive people an unlimited number of times? Are you going to say sorry to Jesus as many times as you need to? And are you going to show Jesus that you love him, not just say it?